Okay, so now that we have a foundation for Microsoft Excel formulas, we'll begin practicing using addition to start. Now before we begin, I would like to point out that when we execute calculations in Excel, we will be referencing the cell and not the actual content. One advantage to using cell references than the actual data in formulas is that if you want to make the change, you'll simply replace the data in the cell rather than rewrite the entire formula. The results of the formula will update automatically when the data is changed. Let's go ahead and do a demonstration. Okay, so here we are on the addition spreadsheet, and I have added some data for us to work with. Now with addition, we can always use the Autosum feature, but I need to show you how you can create formulas using the plus sign. This is important information and will serve as part of your foundation. Okay, so let's begin by looking at the fruit section. Here we have apples for $10, strawberries, grapes, and cherries. And as you can see, each one has a price listed. Now we can use the Autosum feature, but again, I want to show you how to create a formula using the plus sign. So as always, when creating the formula, we're going to start out with the equal sign. So let's go ahead and place our mouse inside of cell C7. Let's go ahead and say equal. Now let's type C3 and say plus. Now let's type C4. Let's say plus cell C5, and then go ahead and say plus cell C6. Okay, now that we have our formula entered, let's go ahead and click the enter button to complete our entry. And as you can see, the amount totals out to $39.99. Okay, so next I would like to show you another way to create an addition formula using a very similar method. So let's begin by placing our mouse inside of F7. Let's go ahead and select equal. Now this time, instead of typing the cell address, we're going to go ahead and click it. So let's go ahead and click inside of cell F3. Let's click the plus sign and select cell F4. Let's click the plus sign again. Let's select cell F5. Let's click the plus sign again. This time we'll select cell F6, and then we'll just go ahead and say enter. Okay, and our cells total out to $21. So this is a quicker method than actually typing the cell address. You will just go ahead and click it instead of typing it. So let's go ahead and look at our veggies. And this time we're going to go ahead and do the Autosum. Let's place our mouse inside of cell I7. Let's go up to the Autosum as we discussed in the intro video. Let's get the drop down and let's go ahead and say sum. And as you can see, it totals out to $32. Okay, next I would like to use the Autosum feature to add up our meats, but then we're going to go back to using the manual add to add up the other categories, okay? So that's just for practice purposes. I want to make sure that you are familiar with how to create a formula, which we'll be doing more of when we move into subtraction. Okay, so let's go ahead and place our mouse inside of L7. Let's go up to the Autosum feature. Let's get the drop down. Let's go ahead and say sum. And let's go ahead and click the check mark this time to complete our entry. And as you can see, we have a total amount of $106. Okay, so now let's go ahead and select the other category. Let's begin by placing our mouse inside of cell O7. As with the previous formula, we're going to go ahead and add the equal sign. Now let's go ahead and select cell O3. Let's click the plus sign. Let's select cell O4. Let's click the plus sign. Let's select cell O5. Let's click the plus sign again and select cell O6. And then let's go ahead and say enter. And as you can see, we have a total amount of $115. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and total all our categories together. I want to begin by selecting cell F18. We're going to do the sum and then we'll add the other information in. So let's go ahead and select F18. Let's head up to the Autosum. Let's get the sum button. And let's go ahead and select cell F13 and drag it down to F17. So now right now we do have a 0 because we do not have any information in those cells, but that will quickly change. So now for the fruit category, Let's go ahead and place our mouse inside of cell F13. Let's go ahead and say equal. And then we're going to just go ahead and click the total for the fruit amount. All right, so as you can see, the total for the amount does change to $39.99. Let's repeat this step with the snacks, but this time we're going to do a manual entry. So the total field for the snack is in cell address F7. So let's go ahead and say equal, and then we're just going to type F7, and then let's go ahead and say enter. All right, so now that brings our total to $60.99. Let's go ahead and repeat this step with the veggies. The address for the total for the veggies is in I7. So I'm going to go ahead and say equal. I'm going to say I7. I'm going to say enter. And as you can see, my total amount has increased. Now let's go ahead and do the auto entry with the meat in the other category. Let's say equal. Let's go ahead and select the total category for meats. And let's say enter. Let's repeat this step with other. Let's say equal. Let's go ahead and select the total category. And let's go ahead and complete our entry by hitting enter. And we're left with a total amount of $313.99. So before we wrap up this lesson, I would like to do one final demonstration. Let's go to the apples category and let's change apples from 10 to 20. And let's see if our total changes at the bottom. Okay, as you can see, it moved to $323.99. Let's go ahead to ice cream and let's change that from 7 to 17. And as you can see, my total changed again. Let's do it one more time with the salmon. Let's change it from $35 to $55. And again, my total changed. So this is an example of how we can change the data without making updates to the formula. Formulas are a great Excel feature, and I'm sure you will find it beneficial in the future. Congrats on completing this video and on your commitment to learning Excel. Be sure to save your work and then pat yourself on the back. You are doing an awesome job.